It's the first word presented by Dr. Pepper from the Star in Frisco as the Dallas Cowboys wrap up Week 13 of the regular season, 34-17. The final score from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Welcome in, everybody. Kyle Yeomans alongside six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton and the great Isaiah Stanback, each former Dallas Cowboys. And guys, I feel like there's a lot to unpack with this game because there sure were their positives, but right now nobody wants to hear about the positives as the Cowboys fall to 3-9 on the 2020 season. But Nate, where do you start whenever you talk about the defense, the run defense specifically, or even special teams in this one?
It just showed we don't have the talent up front, and that talent that we do have that is growing is young, and we just have to continue to fight, and the better team won. I mean, they rushed for close to 300 yards, if not 300 yards. So their quarterback, he looked fresh. His legs look fresh. His pass is still something to be desired. But it's just a better team, and they showed it today. They didn't do nothing flashy, nothing big and out of the way except the big 37-yard run. They had a couple of those right there for touchdowns. But to me, Isaiah, they're just rocking and rolling, being who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think that it was actually a subpar game probably for Baltimore. You could tell that they were still trying to get their legs underneath them. Lamar Jackson was not in Lamar Jackson form. However, it was still good enough to be the Dallas Cowboys team. As you mentioned, these guys dominated on the offensive line of scrimmage. They completely ran us ragged, like you said, for 300 yards on the ground. And when you're able to do that, when you're able to establish a run and be dominant in that form, you really can't be stopped. And it just showed that this Dallas team is just not built. They're not built for it tough right now.
294 rushing yards against the final total in terms of ground game for Baltimore. And Baltimore didn't have to do it through the air. They only threw it 17 times for 107 yards out of the hands of Lamar Jackson. But ultimately, you don't have to whenever you're able to run the ball so efficiently. There's no Dontari Poe to blame on this one. You brought the same guys who seemingly had been playing better run defense-wise. Why was today so unsuccessful?
It's the quarterback. It's the quarterback that makes the difference. You said it on a lot of your shows, podcasts this week, misdirection was going to kill this team. And misdirection killed this team, especially our linebackers. When our defensive line did fill their gaps, the misdirection of running backs going one way, Lamar coming the other, that took advantage of Leighton Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. They were totally lost out there. It's just basically like the Rams. The first game of the year, they came in with misdirection, a lot of stuff going across the formation, and they were totally lost. And our safeties weren't doing any better, missing the tackles. I'm quite sure with a 350-pound fullback, it is kind of scary. You make business decisions.
Yeah, they definitely made some business decisions. It just wasn't good. Our linebackers, we've talked about it, relentlessly all year long. These guys have been dazed and confused. They're getting themselves out of position. You saw the play that you're referring to on a quarterback draw straight up the middle of the field. The D linemen were where they were supposed to be, and our linebackers covered themselves up. You have Van Der Esch, coming up to the line of scrimmage, getting himself caught behind the line, and all he does is see his guy go out, and he runs literally the opposite direction. Plays like that have been happening all year long. It's stuff that has to get shored up. Hopefully they can figure it out by the end of the season, but it's not looking good, obviously.
Does that concern you more, the fact that the linebackers and the defensive line were the two trouble spots in this game? Whenever it's actually the secondary, that's the part that's banged up via the injuries?
Well, I mean, they didn't have to throw the ball. They didn't have to throw the ball. And obviously, you're facing a quarterback who already, has some work to do in that regard, right, in terms of throwing the ball. And we saw some of that inaccuracy today. But these guys ran the ball. And when you're that dominant, why would I even think about passing? I'm controlling the line of scrimmage. I'm controlling the clock. I'm controlling the ground game. That's what I'm going to do until you figure out a way to stop me.
We've been going over this week in, week out. Talking about Coach Nolan and his schemes. We got rid of guys. Now it's just growing pains. And I know we want instant success, but it's growing pains. Gallimore is doing what he can do. Antoine Woods is doing what he can do. They got a nice offensive line, not a great offensive line, but they got great talent. And the way they have Greg Roman has went out and designed this offense, it's built for this kid. And I was hoping that we would throw 8-9 guys in the box, but the way it looked, it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference because we wasn't playing assignment football, and after about the third, up to about the third quarter, we kind of lost interest.
Yeah,
we kind of lost interest as a defense because nobody was coming up in a game like this. You need somebody early and often to drop the hammer. Yep. And we don't have the hammer dropper yet. Whoever that guy is, I mean, you say D-Law coming off the edge. He got to read Lamar and a running back, so he hesitant. And like you said during the game, don't be hesitant. Make a move. I'd rather for him to snatch it out and I kill the running back or hit the quarterback. You got to make a decision. And when you hesitate on this offense, which Greg Roman wants you to do, he wants you to take a 6-inch step the wrong way, and he going the other way. So until we get a hammer dropper, this is what you're going to see.
And we did have a hammer dropper, but he was inactive today.
Yes,
Former Wilson.
Yes.
Wilson had been laying the hammer for the past few weeks, but he was inactive today. So it's like, who do you turn to next to really bring that hammer? And you would assume it would be your guy like D-Law or guys at your second level. The guys that are getting paid to do it, they just didn't show up.
Now, I kind of want to go back to something that Nate just said a moment ago whenever you talked about losing interest in that third quarter. There was an opportunity early in that third quarter, the first drive you had on the offensive side of the football, to tie the game at 17. You got a 3-and-out to start the half. You had an opportunity to drive down the field. You got in the field goal range. You didn't finish your drive, but it was a missed field goal. 1 of 3 on the game. How much of a detriment was that to the offense, to the morale of that sideline, to have 3 missed field goals in a game like this? I know 2 of them were 50-plus yards, but you can't miss like that on a consistent basis.
It's very discouraging. It's very discouraging. Obviously, you go out there and you get the guy, Greg Zuerlein, and you think that you have a dog back there who can kick the thing from doggone 800 yards away. And it's very discouraging for a quarterback like Andy Dalton, who has been working his tail off to get himself going. He's been working his tail off to get these guys to believe in him and build confidence. And tonight he came out to play. Andy Dalton came out to play today. He was a red rifle for sure. Man. He was slinging that thing around. He was dropping the ball on the money. These guys were catching the rock, making plays. This offense was moving the ball. And for you to stall out your drive and be on their side of the field in position to kick field goals, and your guy misses 3 of them, right? When you talked about it earlier, Kyle, had they made those 3 field goals and went for a 2-point conversion, it would have been a tie ball game there in the fourth quarter. So it's really discouraging for the offensive side of the ball. That's finally getting things moving, and then that drive turns into 0 points.
The first time, you pat him on his rump. The second time, you look at him. The third time, he's like and I hate to say he's like a plague. I hate to say this time, but he's like a plague now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got to show his teammates that you can do the job, and that's just the bottom line. Kickers, you only have one job, and I'm sorry, but I was that way as a player. I'm that way now. Brother, you messed it up.
Now, at the same time, you could also put a lot of the blame on the offensive side of the football of not finishing drives. And that's been a complete story all year long, is the fact that this offense just can't finish drives. We saw that again today. What'd you think about what Andy Dalton, what Ezekiel Elliott brought to the table, and also Kellen Moore play calling wise? I thought this was one of his better games.
Very much so. I think Kellen Moore is starting to figure it out. I think he's starting to figure it out with his current personnel that he has. I mean, that's talking about the offensive line. That's talking about the running back, situation, building Zeke back up. Zeke came out and was running hard today. Pollard came out and was running hard. I think Zeke started getting he had that dog. He started getting that flair back again. You can start seeing him getting swag back again. We didn't see this, but we saw something close to it, And and again, we already spoke about Andy Dalton. He did a magnificent job managing this team. You could see him getting his confidence back. You could see him throwing to 10 different receivers.
Right.
That lets you know that he's confident within this system, and he doesn't matter who it is out there. He's going to get them the ball.
Threw it to Noah Brown. He threw it to several other guys. Him and Gallup made some nice plays. Him and Cooper made some serious plays. I mean, when you look at this guy, man, he's a veteran guy. And when he first came here, I was like, okay, great. Mm-hmm. Then, he had the little slowdown, little, knockout and everything. And I'm like, oh, my God, bring in Gilbert. But this guy over here told me, hey, believe in this guy, man. And he's done what he had to do. As far as the offensive coordinator, I'm liking what he's doing. But you know what? A couple of those field goals, he just went on and punted and gave our defense a chance. And, yes, they were getting gashed, but they did come in and, like you said, early in the third quarter and got that turnover. I mean, got them off the field. I'm sorry.
I do think there was growth from the offensive standpoint today, and there's a lot of things to build on. Andy Dalton goes 31 of 48 for 285 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Really managed the game. He wasn't balling out by any means. He wasn't throwing downfield a whole lot. If anything, plus 30 yards was a bit of a struggle. But overall, he managed the game. I thought Kellen Moore did a nice job of setting the offense up for success. Elliott ended up with 18 carries and 77 yards in the ball game. game. That's not going to do it for us here on the DallasCowboys.com side of things. More to come in post-game reaction following the 34-17 loss, but that'll do it for the first word.